So welcome to the pre-market watch list. Sorry about the technical difficulties we had. Hopefully they're all good now. So we got some very interesting setups for you today. Some very nice developments so far. NEO was a big mover yesterday. It's fading some of that. There's a potential trade opportunity in that. We got some other movers for today. And we got a lot that's actually selling off, especially in big tech. We've been kind of bearish and felt like tech has been rolling over. And we've been taking a lot of, option and stock trades on that tech is rolling over, and that's been playing out. So there's going to be some big stuff happening in tech right now, that some trade setups that I'm looking at. Also, because of the US election coming, we have a lot of uncertainty. The chances of the US election being decided on November 3rd is a very slim window. And so there's a good chance it's going to be a contested election. That means weeks after the election before we know, unless it comes out super dominant on November 3rd, that one person's so far in the lead and the mail-in ballots that are coming in are already going to favor them, then I'm suspecting a contested election. And as long as there's that contested election and there's a lot of doubt and uncertainty as to who's winning, stocks are going to be very, very uneasy. And in fact, it might even put bearish pressure on stocks. I am doing I'm doing a webinar with XTB on November 2nd. And so I'll be emailing out a newsletter and posting on the YouTube channel on the community section there. But we will be doing kind of an election scenario, what this means for stocks, FX, everything, what kind of trade opportunities are going to be based on the different scenarios that can play themselves out. There's a lot of really interesting scenarios, and only a few are really bullish, but there's a lot of kind of mixed situations where things can be very, very challenging going ahead. So it just depends on how, not just the election, but also how things play out in the House and the Senate. So we're going to have a lot of very interesting setups going on in the market over the next few weeks. And so we've already been positioned for a lot of this volatility. So one of the things that we've been doing, and we've been talking about this, is playing the VIX. So the VIX is a measure of volatility. And we've been sharing this trade set with our members. We have two basic plays on the VIX right now. So we have a bull call spread on December because we put for the December VIX. And so we bought the 30 and sold the 35. That's a bull call spread. And the reason why we've done this is because we suspect there's going to be a contested election. It's not going to be decided on November 3rd. It's probably going to be weeks, maybe even into early December. Now, I don't know if you know this, but in the US, the states have requirements as to when they can say, hey, this is the final date in terms of, we gotta count all the votes and put all the tallies together and all the electoral college votes and everything as to, hey, here's who won, this particular state. Some of these states have deadlines in mid-December. So we decided to buy the late bull call spread in the VIX. We've also sold, or we've actually bought a bear put spread. So what we're doing basically is using the annotation tool. We're expecting the VIX to go up into the election, past the election, and then once the winner is decided, we're going to expect the VIX to come back down. And so we're taking two separate bets. We're taking the December that we're going to expect volatility in the VIX to increase leading into the November 3rd election. And then after everything's settled, probably first or second month next year. That's why we bought the February put spread on that. That by then everything will kind of settle down, calm down. Things should be a little bit more in order. And then you're going to see volatility fall. So those are the trades that we've taken. That's the main trade we've taken on the VIX. We don't need to save that. Okay, we got some comments here. So let's see. Hello to Chichan, Joshua, Luis. Good to see you. Morning to you, Victor. Sorry for confusing you by not being here yesterday. Muhammad Asim saying, what's the platform? This isn't the platform. This is Benzinga Pro. So this is my kind of news analytics. I wouldn't say trade ideas, but it really gives me news and analytics and up-to-date stuff for stock market, basically. So anything for the US stock market, this gives me updates. So I have a news feed here, which constantly updates with any sort of news that are coming out. These are the movers that I have, and right now we have a pre-market analysis on right now, so it's letting me know what are the big movers pre-market, how much, what's their price, how much they moved, volume, very, very important compared to average volume. So that's what that does. Anytime I click on one of these things, it just shows a chart here, and then this is earnings. I have to change that for today. There we go. So this gives me the earnings basically. So this is for the US stock market trading basically. So hopefully I answered your question. Morning to you, Olajuwon. Pete, hello to you, sir. And you're welcome, Mohammed. Okay, so let's get into our pre-market watch list for today. One of the big movers is Tupperware. So they're up on, let's go to this real quick. Tup is up on positive. They had a positive news catalyst. Their Q3 earnings are strong and sales were stronger than expected. So it's had a nice, why isn't this changing on the chart? There we go. Trading higher after the company reported Q3 EPS and sales results from last year. And they're all pretty positive. The conference call is in progress right now. And the results are posted before the market opens. So what this has done has given Tup a little bit of a tailwind. So it had closed the market about 21.35. And then here we are in pre-market, which is right there. And it's gone from 21.85 up to 26.36. Now, if you look at this on the weekly chart, 26.36 is a pretty big structural high. We haven't been above this since April last year. And it comes in as a nice RRL, roll reversal level. So this high matches up with resistance here, which matches up with support here. So the roll of that level has reversed from support to resistance and resistance here. And so that becomes a major target for intraday bulls. If it can break this 27.07 area, the spike highs here, then I think we can have a nice move up till 29.99 or 30, which would be a very, very nice trade. So that's on the weekly charts. Looking at the 1 hour chart, actually, let's go to the 4 hour chart so we can kind of look at some of the structure. So we're in a nice impulsive, corrective, impulsive, a little bit of a counter trend and pullback and corrective structure here that it's definitely breaking out of. So this is pre-market right now. So you can see here's the corrective structures. It's had a really nice run, impulsive, corrective, impulsive, counter trend pullback, and breaking out of this. So it's going to have some serious resistance right around here, 26.81. And so I will probably, assuming the volume is good, assuming that everything else from the conference call works out well, and this kind of builds some pressure, then I'll probably look to take a long on a break of this. Assuming, time and sales volume, everything looks good. If it doesn't look good at that time, then I'll wait for a pullback and buy in a pullback. If I am going to buy in a pullback, some of the levels that I like, looking at the 1 hour, I'd like to get towards maybe the base of this corrective structure, say 24.37, or potentially a deeper pullback to 23.22. I think by then the VWAP will have opened with the new session and it should rise pretty decently. This weekly VWAP should rise at least to this or ideally up to this. So if we get a nice confluence of support coming in on a pullback there, the VWAP matches up nicely with the resistance at the top of the corrective structure, and the market pulls back correctively, then I'll enter along on that pullback level. So these are kind of the levels I'm watching for potential pullbacks on the one. But TUP right now is one of the big movers. I'll keep an eye on the VWAP, the intraday VWAP shown 20 to 25. That is potential. But that's one of the big movers right now. If you look at right here, other than TUP, which is up 20%, most of the other market is not up huge right now. There's not a whole lot, the markets are rolling over. If you look at ES, it's already down 64 points, in the futures market right now. Europe, absolute bloodbath, partially because of COVID restrictions and lockdowns. I mean, this is very deep red. This isn't like, oh, we're down 0.5%, 0.1%. We're down 1.8, 3.4, 4.19, 1.7, 3.07, 3.5%. Those are deep in the red numbers for all the European indices. Asia started off mildly, but it was all in the red. This is a sea of red. So I'm suspecting that you're going to see a very deep in the red day for a lot of US indices. And that means there's not going to be many intraday winners. So we want to take the strength where it is, be very picky when you have a bear market, be very picky for your bull plays in the stocks, because you only want to be taking ones that are really, really strong and showing that. If the entire market is dragging down, or it's falling down, it's going to try and pull a lot of stocks with it. So only the ones that have really, really good strength for the day are the ones that you should be trading. Other than that, be very, very cautious, or look to start trading to the bear side. So a couple of those that we recommend trading to the bear side, QQQs. We've been bearish on this. We've been doing bearish option plays on this for quite a long time. We sold way back a bear call spread way back when it formed this corrective structure here. because we felt that it was actually rolling over inside the corrective structure. There were subtle hints inside the corrective structure that was telling us that there was a reversal happening, and that's exactly what happened. We sold it here, it sold off, impulsive corrective using VWAP as resistance, large corrective structure, false break. We sold another bear call spread, but then it went right back to it and is sold and is now treating this as resistance. So I think there is a play in QQQs if it does come back to, say, 282.91, 283. For those of you who don't know, QQQs is the ETF for the NASDAQ. And since the NASDAQ was the big thing that really rallied above, high and above any other index, it's got a lot more to roll over, in my opinion. So I like selling on a pullback here. Worst case scenario, it kind of bottoms here and forms a corrective structure, but I am bearish on this. And because the NASDAQ is just kind of sliding and a lot of tech is going with it, I'm also short-term bearish on Tesla. So if we look at Tesla, and I know we got some questions. If we look at Tesla, the one that this is kind of what I'm seeing in the structure. Maybe I could do this on the 4 hour, but let's see if I can do this on the 4 hour. Let's see what happens. Okay, we can do this on the 4 hour. Okay, so Tesla, after the had the stock split, there was a big ramp up before the stock split. Then you saw a big sell off and had a really, pretty deep. I mean, that's from high to low, 539 to 308. That's, what is that? Almost 50% drop around that. And if you look at the bounces have been, let's do trend angle. So look at the bounces. Okay, strong bounce there. See the angles weakening from a 72 to 62 degree angle. Then look at this one. The angles and the bounces are just getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So anytime you see the angles in the price action bouncing off support and getting weaker and weaker and weaker, that's usually a sign of the market rolling over. That is a sign of that every time the bulls come in, the first thrust is really strong. The second one's not as much, and it just continues to get weaker and weaker and weaker. And so when you see that, I usually am looking to start shorting, either trading the breakout or, taking a breakout pullback on that. But I think Tesla's in trouble right now. This does not bode well from a technical perspective. They released their full self-driving or supposed full self-driving, which you should see some of the clips on Twitter. It's an absolute disaster. Like, the car is not stable in FSD. Honestly, I don't know how the NHTSA or whatever they are, the NHSA or whatever the driving committee or organization that kind of monitors auto companies, I don't know how they're allowing this, because it's like a beta experiment with people's lives. I didn't sign up to be a part of Tesla's beta experiment for them to experiment with software that's kind of bunk. So, it's a weird situation, but they released it and the market's not bouncing. They had their 5th quarter of profitability, or about to post that, and the market's not bouncing. So it tells me that bulls are exhausted and they're just not punching back with as much strength as they used to. So I'm suspecting a break. And if we break 406, which I'll put a nice alert here, 4550, there's a lot of potential downside. Obviously, 400 is going to be a downside target because it's a round number, 400, 300, 200. But I think after that, we have chance to probe these technical lows here at 356 and all the way down to 309. That would be a major unwinding. And if you see Tesla start to penetrate into the low 300s, that's going to scare a lot of investors, because there's a lot of investors that are lever long in this range here. And they're just thinking, hey, well, I'm only down a little bit. Tesla's a long-term bull. I think it's going to be fine. But if this starts to roll over, leverage and, kind of complacency and greed, those are what help fuel a major downside sell-off in a particular stock, any stock or market. So not a favorable sign for Tesla right now. So I am looking to short this on a break. I think if we get a weaker bounce, I would consider it, but I'd rather wait for the break of the support before I get short. Okay. Before we move on, Victor saying, okay, we'll get to that in a second, Victor, just a second. Let me go through the list and then we'll get into your trade question here. Morning to you, Yosef. Good to see you. Okay, so NEO has been a stock we've been bullish on. We've been buying a lot of it. We actually still have some longs in it. Yesterday, NEO had a very, very good run. So very, very nice run. A little bit of a bounce pre-market, but from 26.16 up to 27.68, that's a very, very good run. That's a great for an intraday, like an opening drive day trade. This is like textbook opening drive move. You want to capture as much as possible. It pulls back to the VWAP and then launches higher. But it's been pulling back pretty decently in the aftermarket and the pre-market. So pre-market starts right there. Bam, that's where the big drop in the VWAP or jump in the VWAP. And so a little bit of a fade in profit taking, but then a little bit more selling right now. So it's under a little bit of pressure. This is kind of the pre-market lows. And when I map this out, let's take a look at it on, say, the 4-hour. When I map this out, this isn't a bad RL. You got some resistance here. You got some support here. A little resistance here. So it's not bad. I'm going to be keeping an eye more on the weekly VWAP. The thing that really interested me about this one is, so you have impulsive, corrective pullback, counter trend and corrective pullback, super big impulsive move, and now a corrective pullback. So the overall structure, I think, is bullish. I will watch the weekly VWAP as a potential long. If that doesn't work out, then I will watch this 25.73 to 60 range as another buyback point. But I'm suspecting that this is going to be an overall favorable structure, unless we have just a massive sell-off in stocks as a whole, tech as a whole. I think this is your new structure. And so you have to be buying the bottom of this corrective structure. As long as everything looks good in the price section, the volume and everything, you have to be buying that. Until this corrective structure breaks, you have to have a long bias on this one here. So that's potential setups there. Snap, very, very popular stock. We suspected it has been rolling over. We commented into our trade members, hey, we think this is rolling over, watch out. And it has, and it just kind of held the weekly view up as resistance. Is now selling even deeper. So looking at Snap, let's go to 1 hour. And the areas that are most important to me is potential pullback here on an RRL, resistance, support for the launch higher. And then I think there's a little bit deeper pullback there at 35.76. So I don't like buying right now at the current levels. I'd like to see a bigger dip before I get long on Snap. And if this fails, then I will definitely look at potentially here. And if that fails, then I'll have to wait for a much bigger reset. But, you look at this impulsive, corrective, impulsive, counter trend impulsive, hits the RL, launches, uses this resistance as support for a big launch higher. And if you look, this thrust is the biggest thrust of them all. And so, it's kind of like an exhaustive last thrust on it. Minus this thrust, it's the biggest of these few days. And yet volume is continually declining, suggesting that, hey, there's some distribution happening. There's some rolling over happening. So watch for a deeper pullback. The volume isn't like alarming or anything like that. And so if it hits one of these levels and you see a really good volume surge, then that might be a sign that, hey, the buyers have decided to step back in. It might be a potential long there. So potential opportunities on that. Okay, do I have any more I want to look at? Not on DKNG. VIX, we've talked about that. We're bullish on VIX. Short term, through the election, we're bullish on VIX. After the election, once everything is decided, depending on how the election goes out, I'm leaning towards a Biden victory. I still think there's plenty of chances that Trump can win. But if I had to, lean towards one direction, I'm leaning towards a Biden victory, probably by a few percentage points. So I would give a slightly more percentage chance for him to win, say like a 53-47 type thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if Trump pulls this out. There's a lot of different ways that he can win. It's going to be a very, very interesting election. So anyways, the longer the contested election goes, the higher the VIX should go. And that's partially because not only is there going to be a lot of uncertainty, but people are going to be hedging their long portfolio positions by buying VIX protection. And so we've already seen that VIX has kind of started to, it's curled up, and then now it's curled up, and it's about to break the 38.5 prior weekly highs from August. And that means a trip up to 44 next. We could even see a 70 VIX, 80 VIX, depending upon how the election plays out. But the fact that it's already at 37.8 and we haven't even hit the election, that tells me that we have potential for a very big surge in VIX. If it comes out on November 3rd and the vote totals are so dominant one way, either it's so dominant Biden or it's so dominant Trump that there's almost no way the other person can win, then I think you'll see VIX fall. My intention is to kind of see how vote totals are going that day. If I feel like it's a super dominant victory, then I'll unload my VIX option position on the bull call spread. If I feel like, whoa, this is going to be a very contested election, it's going to take weeks, then I will keep that on probably through November and possibly into December. So it just depends on how long and how contested it's going to be. But I think there's some really good potential plays in VIX right here. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We can do open trade analysis. How are we doing on time? We got 8 minutes to the bell right now. So is TUP is pushing. Okay, so TUP is pushing. I might have to get long very, very soon. So weak pullback, very corrected pullback. Didn't even make it to VWAP, and now it's repressing. What's the volume on TUP? Not a whole lot of volume. Not a whole lot of volume. 400K. 400K. That's below my threshold. I normally want there to be 600K pre-market. So it's not. Let me look at time and sales super quick. Okay, here is. Let's see here. Here is. Okay, there's TUP. So you can see the time and sales isn't bad, but it's not a whole lot of fast prints. So it's not attracting massive amounts of, interest right now. If it was, we'd see faster prints. We probably see some larger share positions. Right now, you're seeing a lot of doubles actually. So doubles are 2-figure prints, triples are 3-figure prints, and you're seeing a lot of doubles. Even some singles here. Who's buying 2 shares? That's a small retail, very, very small retail account. Who's buying 31 or 65 shares? That's generally not a good size retail account. Only until you start getting into 3 and 4 figures are you getting into the more seasoned traders, depending upon position sizing and everything. But I'm seeing a lot of singles and doubles, and it's not that fast. So because of that, I'm going to probably hold off on a breakout, and I'll wait until the market opens to see what kind of volume we get then. If the prints are moving faster, if we're starting to get a lot larger prints and things like that, okay, now we're getting some action. This is like decent sized retail trader, not retail trader, but more like towards the professional side, 1,000, 3,000 shares. That's a decent size. So we're getting a little bit more activity as the market opens, but it's still not a lot of fast prints. Hence, not a lot of interest. Hence, I want to avoid taking breakouts because it's not going to have as much thrust. So I'll wait till the market opens on this one here. So that's kind of what I'm doing on TUF. Okay, Victor wants to look at GME, which is Gamestop. They've actually had a pretty impressive run off the lows. We had shorted in 2019 on this break. I think we even posted on Twitter. Said it was going to like $5 and it went all the way down to like $3.24. But then they had a major investor come in, and after stabilizing a little bit, now it's a little bit better. Maybe the stock is going to get some gains, a boost from PS5 coming out. If you are buying the PS5, let me know. I'm thinking about getting it. But then my tech friends always tell me, wait until the next generation comes out or wait a couple months because there's always problems with the first one. So is anyone getting the new PS5? I want to get it right off the bat, but I'll probably wait till Black Friday and then buy it. Okay, so GameStop, Victor, you want to look at weekly chart. Did my first ever option after boot camp. Very nice. Sold in 11.6. I'm assuming that's a put spread. 55. Oh, sorry, November 6th. Sold November 6th, 15.5 call for a 127 credit. 15.5 call for a 127 credit. Continue holding, or should I add more currently below my entry? If you sold a call, do you own the underlying? Your average cost is 13. So you own the underlying, Victor. Is that correct? At 13.55? So let's start marking these out while you're answering that because I know there's a delay. So your average price is here. You sold Let's take a look at this. You sold this one here. So you sold about a 15.5 cover call. Okay. So you sold -1C here. Okay. It is a lot of digital deliveries anyways, so hard to justify buying physical CDs and visiting GameStop in person. Yeah, I hear you on that. Okay. So I got that here. So let's see, why would this... Let's see if there's any news on GME. Yeah, up 219% last 6 months. But one thinks the gains will be short-lived. Underperform rating on it. That's not good. It's not common for, like, most analysts, partially because the analyst game is kind of rigged. Like, it's not favorable for them to give bearish or underperform ratings on stocks, because if they do, they don't get, like, those companies won't invite them in for coverage or conference calls and things like that. So naturally ratings are more geared to the upside, but he gave a pretty bearish 160 price target. That's interesting. Is a headwind for GameStop. It accelerates digital disintermediation. Yeah. So from my understanding, I think if I'm correct, the new PS5 has two versions. They have one with an actual disk drive. I think it's like a DD CD drive, whatever it is. And then they have one that's just digital, which means that it has no disk drive. It's only for downloading off the internet. And you're going to be moving more and more towards that. And so I think this guy has got it right. He's saying, look, these new next-gen consoles that are coming out for Xbox and PlayStation 5, they are moving towards digital. So with that being said, there's just less and less interest in people going into the stores. So in terms of, let's see, TUP is breaking. Yeah, I don't want to take that right now. I want to wait till the market opens and get more volume. So with that being said, looking at GME, your average cost basis is $13.55. So your shares are underwater about 90 cents. You have a $1.27 credit. Let's see, 11/6, November 6 expiry on the 15.5. Let's look at, okay, let me erase the call stuff right here. Let's take a look at that, because that's an interesting play. I think if you get below 12.20, I think if you close below, say, 11.50 on a weekly basis, if you close below 11.55 on a weekly basis, then I think you're going to start to see bigger unwinding in GME. And so, yeah, I wouldn't want to be long past 11.50 or 11. I don't like that. I don't like this candle. That in and of itself is very bearish, in my opinion. So if there's a chance for you to get out and break even, like you take the loss on your shares, but you gain enough on your covered call credit that you can get out for a decent break even or close, then I would take that play. There is support right here at 12.26 for sure. And you probably have some decent support all the way until 11.58. But after that, you're running dry on support for your stock position. It's great for your covered call, but it's not good for your stock position. So that would be my recommendation on that one. Okay, so I got to wrap it up. The market's opened, and I'd like to do some trades on this. Wow, it's already running pretty. See, there we go. Nice little rejection on that. So I'm going to get into the live trading room with our stock trading course members in the next minute. So with that being said, good luck trading. I hope you enjoy this. Keep an eye on TUP, Tesla, NEO, and Snap, and VIX as well, QQQs. You got a lot to go with there. I hope you enjoyed the session. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. We appreciate it. Let's YouTube know, hey, this is valuable content, and it also gives us the juice and the information and the support that we need to keep doing these live sessions like this. So with that being said, hit the like button. I appreciate it. Good luck trading, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.